So welcome to the Alphagenics podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Max, today, and I've got with us back for part two, Tim James, founder of Chemical Free Body. Tim, thanks for joining us again, because I think we had more you had more to say last time, but we ran out of time.
Well, I appreciate you having me back on. That's awesome.
No problem. Pleasure. So for people who don't know Tim, it'd be worth looking at the part one, which should be out by the time this one, part two, comes out. But Tim, we're talking about hormones, because obviously that's a big thing that I'm involved with. You know, TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, big thing in America, obviously with you, probably bigger in America than it is in the UK. But yeah, tell me about your experience with, because obviously you look at things holistically, looking at the nature of food, diets, chemicals, all of that stuff.
Yeah, so I wouldn't consider myself like a hormone expert, but I would consider myself somebody who's, personally coached about 750 people, and a bunch of them have had hormonal issues, and we've seen a high percentage of those people hormones get better with basic fundamentals of what's going on in our modern world. And I guess the first one would be removing things from your environment, including diet, that are mimicking estrogens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's plastics, and you have to look. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but you got to look at like everything. And one of the first things to look at, obviously, is food, right? We want to avoid things that could potentially create issues like that. And one thing is soy products. We try to tell our clients and stuff to stay away from soy products because they can have estrogen mimicker type stuff in them. Now, I'm not sure about it, but there's a soy product in Japan they use quite a bit. It's fermented, so that's where the fermentation process happens, and it breaks it down. And I don't know if it's breaking down the estrogen mimickers. It might. It's called natto. It's not one of my favorite things, but it's kind of one of those things when people are looking to recolonize their gut microbiome. They're using raw sauerkrauts, raw kimchis, fermented foods, and things like natto. So just clarifying that. I'm not saying for those taking natto that it's a bad deal, but for the most part, we get them off of the estrogen mimicking things like soy, and then any drinks or wet foods that are packaged in plastic, because plastics are definitely off-gassing these microscopic noceums that you can't see, but they build up over time. And and I don't know if I talked about this last time, but I was quite a few years ago when I moved back home. I went to the river and went swimming, and I looked over and I just glanced and I thought I saw in the river like a young woman naked, like where her top was off. And then I was just like, what? Like 13 or something like that. And then I looked back again, and then I realized it was a boy and he had breasts. And I'm just thinking, yeah, this is a perfect example of it. So this kid had been fed, well, first off, his parents were probably nutrient deficient for long term. He was probably born fairly weak, which is happening more and more because what's happening is over in the United States is that life expectancy is actually dropping now. So that means that our children are actually going to die younger than us. So that's kind of a bigger overall umbrella, just showing the decline of reproduction and what's going on. So anyway, but he was
I've seen stuff about that, and it gets, the data is hard to interpret because of obviously like sort of less babies are dying in childbirth and things like that. But actually, are the Americans going to be living sort of shorter as adults as such, isn't it? There's a lot of reasons they suspect behind it, but a lot of it's maybe environmental and behavioral.
Well, yeah, and now you're bringing up something else, and don't let me forget what I was going to say. But there was the thing is that people say we're even before that we were actually living longer, but the case was because of prenatal care, advanced prenatal care, and C-sections and stuff like that. A 20-year-old woman and a baby that would have died at birth now live. So that was really skewing the numbers that we're living longer. But let's just assume that the bottom line is that people are sicker than ever. Okay.
Yes.
There's more
Yeah.
cancer.
Yeah.
There's more heart disease. There's more COPD. There's more diabetes. Children are being born with cancer. This has never happened. Children are being born overweight. It's like there's some weird stuff going on. The rates of autism in the 80s was like 1 in 10,000. Now it's like 1 in 26 males will have autism. And if we stay on current trends by the year 2050, 2060, every other child will be autistic. So you'll either have autism or you'll be taking care of somebody with autism. Well, we know what that is now. We know that it's heavy metals and toxic chemicals. And one of them actually came out of MIT. It was like Dr. Stephanie Seneff, I believe. She showed that they had the direct correlation, the off-gassing of these chemicals out of these what are they called? They're it's flooring. It's like it resembles wood. It's very thin. It's not vinyl, but I can't remember the name of it, but it's a flooring, and it's made out of toxic chemical compounds. And from babies crawling around on these floors, laminate floors, laminates is another direct link to autism. So chemicals, heavy metals, and from jabs and the heavy, the mercury and stuff gets into the brain, and then the 5G towers hit that, and it throws the kids off. Right. So these are some of the things that we know that I've seen in my work over the last 15 years that and I have people like a perfect example. This isn't just, me BSing people. I mean, I can look it up, but if I look up Dan and Ashley, episode 87 of my show, Tim James Upgraded, Dan and Ashley's journey healing their son's autism. There's some people that had full-blown autism, and they healed their son, and they kind of walked through that. We had a little part in that because of one of our products. Our toxin detox product was part of their regimen to get the heavy metals out. But anyway, all right, so yeah, we got a lot of problems. Okay, we got a lot of problems out there, and that young man had those breasts. My guess was, okay, he probably drank a lot of soy milk, right? A lot of Similac, baby food, possibly out of plastic bottles. Most of the baby bottles are. Those baby bottles a lot of times are beep, 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 heated up in a microwave, heating up the plastic, nuking that stuff with radiation. Somebody turns a microwave on, I'm out of there. I leave the room. I don't stay around that stuff. That is not natural. That stuff was banned in the 70s by Russians and a bunch of people. So, it's just weird. And then it's a lifestyle of, synthetic clothing. These synthetic clothing, most people have heard the term microplastics. A majority of the microplastics are coming off of the clothing. So if you're wearing like when I was playing baseball, we always had to wear these long cotton sleeves if it was cooler or something. The problem was you start working out in them, you get soaked up and they get heavy. So then we would get like I think this stuff came out like Nike Dry Fit and Under Armour. And boy, you put that stuff on and you felt like Superman. It was awesome because the sweat would just wick away and you just wear the whole thing. You didn't have to change it in the middle of the game. It was great. But what we didn't know is that they were made out of plastic. That's it. It's their chemicals. It was like a chemical garment, and it was off-gassing these estrogen mimicking things right into our bodies, right through our skin, into our lymphatic system, in our cardio. It just goes inside of us. These are contributing factors. Even if that child was wearing a cotton diaper, if that cotton was not grown organically, cotton is the second most sprayed crop in the planet behind sugarcane. So now you've got chemicals, pesticides being sprayed that are also estrogen mimickers in that cotton on that child's in a high hormonal area, whether it's a boy or a girl. And same thing with us guys, tighty whities, right? You're wearing your you're wearing your cotton underwear, Hanes and that kind of stuff, sprayed. Those were sprayed. They still have those estrogen mimickers. Those chemicals don't go away. They're 24/7 off-gassing inside of you. So drinking out of plastic, wearing plastic clothing. That's why all the clothing, like this shirt that I'm wearing right here, is 100% organic cotton. And even the these what do you call it? The lettering and stuff on here, the dyes are chemical free. So this is part of like a shirts that we get out of our swag store. So I'm cognizant of that. If you put in an air freshener in the wall, Most of those are off-gassing toxic chemicals into the air. If you paint it, let's say you have a new baby and you're like, oh, we got the ultrasound. We have a beautiful baby girl coming. So they're going to paint the room pink, let's say, right? Well, in those paints could even say VOC free. And if you don't know how to actually read paints, which nobody does, like you think you got something, but most people don't even think about looking for that. They just paint the room because they got a baby and they want it to look pretty. But even if they get the VOC free ones, there still are things. Those paints are going to off gas for 4.5 to 5 years into those child's lungs. And so you're getting the point. It's like freaking everywhere. So
everywhere.
It's like, so if this is happening all the time, this is going to disrupt hormones. Okay. So these are the things that we teach people. It's like, stop buying this stuff. Stop buying these types of soy products, except for things like natto if you really like it. See how it works for you. Start wearing natural clothing that's from earth that God made. Just start slowly replacing your stuff. Stop putting in Glade air fresheners and use if you want to put some smells, get some good quality essential oils in a diffuser and put that. I mean, there's studies where they've done that with children. They've taken the orange flavor and put it, and the kids had improved test scores. They got along better simply by diffusing some essential oils into the classroom, right? Go back to nature, go back to natural clothing, drink out of glass bottles. These are the kind of the things that we teach. We teach the fundamentals of how to, where this stuff is coming from. It can be overwhelming in the beginning, but after a while, you just slowly change your environment. You get air purification systems in your house. You stop putting in carpet that's made of plastic because carpet also has formaldehyde in it. So you're kind of embalming yourself every day, microscopically, when you have carpet in the house that's made out of plastic fibers. And that's a problem. But you can't see it, you see? And all this stuff adds up, and it's a body burden. In fact, the scientists are doing these. They're looking at, and people can go back to like 2005 and see, type in these 3 words, umbilical cord chemical. Just type it in, umbilical cord chemical, and you'll see all the studies where the researchers and scientists and doctors went back and they test all the blood out of umbilical cords of brand new babies and these young, supposedly healthy mothers, and they're finding, they test for 400 chemicals and they find 287 of the 400 they looked for, and that's like 71%. So keep in mind, there's 100,000 toxic chemicals in commercial production right now, and only 0.25% are ever tested. The rest are just released out on the market. So if we extrapolate that out, that blood, if you tested for 100,000 chemicals, there could be 71,000. It was bad enough just at 287, but it's probably more than that. We're going to be realistic. But those chemicals in those studies show that those chemicals are hormone disruptors. They're carcinogens. They actually cause cancer. And this is in the womb. I wrote an ebook called Dying in the Womb. And we explain all this stuff. So not to paint, the bad picture, but it's reality. It is what it is. And I've been running around for 15 years trying to give people just awareness. Now, not everybody wants it, but for those that are struggling with their health and wondering what the hell's going on, maybe, just maybe, these hormone disrupting chemicals that are in our air and our food and our water are part of the problem. And what we've seen is that when we purify the water, and we purify show people how to purify their air, we purify their food, they get clean food, and they do all these things, and they start wearing natural clothing, they heal. They just start getting better. Their energy comes back. They, the boobs and all that, and it's not just man boobs, it's ovarian cysts, uterine cysts, these fibroids that women are dealing with, breast cancer. There's so many things that are contributing to hormones being off and having weird menstrual cycles and painful menstrual cycles, guys feeling weaker, not having sexual drive. There's a lot of this stuff. This is real stuff that affects people's day-to-day real lives, and it's not an easy thing to discover on your own sometimes, so I had all this. I got lucky enough to fall into this and learn about it. Otherwise, I'd probably still have the problems I had.
Do Do you support them getting like blood work done? Is that something that you get them to do, sort of look at the trends in the bloods or anything like that, so you can kind of do a before and after?
Well,
So,
yeah,
do you see what I
kind of
mean?
I'm kind of a generalist. I work with, I mean, I've had a lot of blood work done on myself, and yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, I recommend blood work to people, but they need to go get it done by somebody that actually knows what they're looking for. Blood work can get very expensive. Like if you were to go try to look for all these chemicals, that's a huge blood test. Like because it's like the more chemicals you add to look for, you're gonna find it. But I think what's really important is that if what we do is we just kind of educate people on the basics, the fundamentals, that your body is from earth and nature and God, and the reason why you're suffering is because of the disconnection from earth, nature, God, whatever you want to call it. And so what we try to do is just get people to stop putting in the man-made pollution into the body, learn, become a gatekeeper. And it's not, I mean, some of this stuff is easy, okay? So instead of buying this shirt, you buy that shirt. I found this company called Menique. It's MENQUE, I believe. And they're from Europe, and they make wool garments that don't itch. And I have a bunch of wool underwear. Now you think, well, that's not good in the summer, but it really is. It's actually awesome. They have great clothing and stuff like that. So once you find these other places, and you might spend a little bit more, maybe not, on clothes. Linens are good for summer too. Linens are not only you can get 100% linen, but you can also, linen's actually really, and wool is very high vibe. So I think I can't remember there's actually like a hertz, but I think linen and wool are like 5,000 hertz. Whereas like plastic chemical clothes are in the negative range. So they're basically the same range as a corpse of a human body. So if somebody dies, the hertz that are being put off are the same as when you wear a polyester shirt. So you're actually
like
draining
the energy?
You're draining life force out of your body when you wear those. Or you could wear something like hemp or linen and charge your body up, right? Besides not putting pollutants in it.
Do you think the awareness is improving in terms of these sort of, I call them endocrine disrupting chemicals? Do you think people are becoming more savvy to it, or do you think it's still a bit of a niche area?
I think there's a little bit of it because of social media and guys like yourself and myself that are out talking about it. It's bringing a lot of awareness, and I have bigger platforms now that I can speak on, and I go on podcasts like this, and I don't know how many viewers you have, but if there's 500 or 5,000 or 50,000, this is really good because this is a good chunk of folks. I used to put events together, and to get 300 people in a room was hard work in real life. So, 300 on a podcast ain't no big deal, but that's still a lot of folks. And it's not just them, but then those people can change. They can get this awareness, and then they can start teaching other people just by their example. Even if they don't teach, people will see their results. So, but I do know that social media has these things called algorithms, and whatever you look at, they're going to feed you more and more of it because their whole game is advertising. So if the stuff that you spend time watching, the algorithm is going to serve up more of that. So you can kind of create your own echo chamber if you're, searching for, Red Bull events and stuff like that, or MMA fighting and, and watching, I don't know, 2.5 Men or something like that. You're going to get all that stuff. But if you're over here looking at, real yoga retreats on your online, you watch that a lot, and you're looking into cycling and being outdoors and hiking, then the algorithm is going to serve you up a lot of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah. And I think sometimes the problem can be is if people haven't been exposed to this stuff, then when they just hear it first time, they think, oh, you must be crazy. But actually, like you said, is even if you look at the research regarding hormone levels and hormone issues, like the rise in the issues, you can't purely put it down to lifestyle. There's other factors in there involved. And I think these chemicals, I think in our fields, I think it's widely accepted that these chemicals are having an impact, but it's not really disseminated always to the wider public, is it? I think it's still met with a bit of skepticism sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's I've been selling the invisible for the last 15 years. I got myself sold on it and realizing that, processed foods were killing me. I had no idea. That was my first realization that because I had severe gastrointestinal issues. I was pooping blood. I told the story last time. My energy had waned. I've been a baseball player for 30 years, pretty high level. So I went from I still thought I was an athlete to this fat guy that, had eczema all over his body that was cracking and bleeding and pooping blood. Life was not that fun. It was miserable and painful. And, I shed a few tears and frustration time here and there. Because it's just like you're trapped in this, your body becomes like a prison, Max. And it sucks. And you don't go running around telling everybody about it. I did. I kept quiet about it, especially guys. We're like ostriches. We just stick our head in the sand and keep going.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I don't need no help. I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah. I'm fine. If you're saying I'm fine, you're probably not fine. You're in denial, bud. You're in big time denial like I was. So just get over it. Like you have one thing that's really for me is like refreshing is that to look at things at a higher level. And that level is that, because we can help people with the basics, that's why I created the podcast. We have a lot of free information there. People that are actually on our products now, I coach every week. I've been doing it for 7 years. Every Wednesday I coach. And in a group setting, answering people's questions, and we teach, and we do group breakout rooms and guided breathwork meditations to end. And that's a good place for people to come and learn as well. So for now, we open that up. It's if people are purchasing our products on our subscription deal, now we get the coaching's free. So you get a free coach with your with the detox and nutrition supplements and stuff. So, and we offer those just because we want to help sweep the chemicals out of the body because we believe we need to be daily detoxing now, and then we got to be flooding the body with nutrition. So we make that easy for people, but you don't have to use our stuff. I mean, you can try other people's stuff too, or just use all nature, or grow your own gardens and all that kind of stuff. But today I just kind of wanted to really focus on what people can do at no cost out of their home for themselves. And it's just as simply as like, okay, next time when you buy a t-shirt, just make sure it's 100% organic, natural fibers. That's it. Period. Right now, you're going to run into it. And, there's some companies out there like Task Performance Wear, TASC Performance Wear, but they have some blends too. So you always have to read the ingredients. If it's a 60-40 blend of natural and polyester, I ain't wearing it. I will wear some of them that are like 95.5, right? Because some of them need like a nylon in it or something for some type of a performance material. But I don't do a lot of those. I'm trying to buy as much 100% organic natural fibers, linens, hemp, cotton, these types of things, so that it supports my body. And once it's done, it's done. It's like buying I also use grounding sheets. I have sheets, fitted sheets that go on my bed that are full of silver threads that have a lead going out to the third prong on the electrical grid. And that third prong is the ground, and it goes outside in a copper wire and down. And so we're actually I'm charging my body with electrons from the earth all night while I'm sleeping and repairing oxidative stress and damage and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't even know about grounding. I remember the first. Are you familiar with it?
Yes. Yeah. I've got a grounding sheet upstairs.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you found out about it?
Oh, 2 years ago, not that long ago. Yeah.
And did you watch like the movie The Grounded or Earthing the movie? Did you watch one of those two?
No, I think mine was like you. I think the algorithm served it up to me because of the other stuff I was watching.
You'll still love this. There's an old school movie called The Grounded. It's free. It's on YouTube. And it's this guy that was like a filmmaker for National Geographic, and he was really sick, and he was in pain, and he was suffering, and he was up in this cabin up in Alaska where the snow was like 8 feet deep. And he was sitting there on his computer in so much pain, and grounding came across, earthing it's also called. And he was like, shit, that sounds weird. Yeah, woo-woo. The stuff you were talking about where people think this is crazy about the hormones and the plastics and stuff in the beginning, right? He thought that the grounding stuff was bullshit. He just thought it was nothing, And so, but he came back to it again because he was in so much pain and he was so desperate. So what he did was he crawled underneath his cabin and kind of dug a hole in some of the dirt and laid in the dirt at 20 below zero. Okay, I know you guys are in Celsius. I have to do the conversion on that. So I'll do Fahrenheit. I have to do this because I know you got how many people over there listen to you? Fahrenheit to
I think it's in the hundreds. Yeah.
Celsius. Just to give you guys an idea, because it was I got a calculator here. Here it is. Fahrenheit to Celsius. The calculator, it's called calculator soup. All right, so Fahrenheit to Celsius. So it's minus 20. Calculate. That would be minus 32 Celsius.
Ooh.
Pretty cold. Okay, yeah. So the guy's out there the guy's out there laying in this for 20 minutes, and the pain of the cold was too much. He was naked and he went in, but what happened was he got his first night's sleep ever in a long time. So he kind of went about his day, and he finally realized, wow, I slept good last night. Holy shit. And how important is sleep? How important is sleep? It's like number one, and so then he went back down there again, 20 minutes in the cold, laid on the thing, froze, but he slept good again. Then he thought, okay, I can't keep doing this because this is insane. It's painful. So he ran a couple leads out through the window, dug a hole in the snow and stuck them into the ground, and then put patches on his feet. And he started healing, and it just blew his mind. And so he called somebody who had a company. They sent him a bunch of stuff, and I'm not going to spoil the whole movie, but he puts the stuff on everybody in the town, and the whole town starts healing of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's called The Grounded. It was a very well done documentary. There's another one called Earthing the Movie. I love those because those are infotainment. You can really enjoy something interesting and a good story and get educated. And so I remember after watching that, I'm like, what? Like, how could I be this old and never hear about this stuff? How come my parents don't know about this? Like, this is like free medicine. You've heard the term barefoot and grounded, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's stuff like this. So it's things like earthing, grounding, whatever you want to call it. These are massive things that should just be, everybody should grow up and know about it. It should be taught everywhere. Love the earth, hugging trees, doing all this stuff because it works. Okay, you are from earth. You're from the dirt. Your bones are made of minerals. Like even you're in water. Like you're mostly made of water and minerals, and it's like, where does that stuff come from? It all comes from the dirt. When you die, you'll be recycled back into the system, and that's how it works. So to just understand this is important.
I've always thought as well, a big part of the whole grounding sort of message is the fact that often it involves you get outside, you get some sunlight, you get away from the screens, the computers, and all of those aspects. Even if you kind of poo-pooed the grounding aspect to it, you're doing other things that we know help you feel better anyway. So it's like win-win to me. It's kind of like get out there in some bare feet and expose yourself to Mother Nature rather than being sat behind a computer all day and never seeing the sun and never seeing actual nature.
Well, what do people do? What do people, they plan, they spend thousands of dollars to go on what? Vacations. Okay. Where do they go? They don't go to buildings and high rises. They leave the concrete jungle and they go to the beach.
Yeah.
They go to the mountains. They go to the lakes and they get in the water and they walk on the beach with their bare feet. Why do we do that? Why do we spend our money to do this? We all know intrinsically what we need to do, but we're not paying attention to it. Like what you're actually doing is when you take those vacations and you get away from the concrete jungle and the rat race and the stress, is you're healing yourself. And you can start creating this in your life at home. Like, so I have a light over there that in the wintertime, because here it gets dark at like 4:30 in the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
But it gets light like at 7 or something. So if I'm up at 5 o'clock, I got 2 hours of darkness. Well, no, I got a light now that I can turn on, and I can give myself the light so that my chemicals, my body start waking me up, and I start get going and stuff like that. So light is important. Your air is important. Your water is important. Your food's important. Your clothing is important. Moving your body is important. And those are some of the fundamentals, right?
How long do you think, if someone's watching this and they're sort of thinking, oh bloody heck, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, maybe they've really got committed to it, how long, with your guys that you've coached and gals, how long does it take to feel the difference potentially there? Even maybe just through the free stuff, the lifestyle stuff, the grounding, the kind of breath work, the sleep, nutrition.
It varies. I mean, everybody's unique, right?
Yeah.
We've had some people that if as soon as they stop putting in toxins, they start feeling better. We have people that get off of, I don't know, over here especially, but they get off gluten, which is also probably ridden with glyphosate, which is a major problem. And they stop eating that, and they just start, like, the breads and the pastas and the pastries over here in the United States. I don't think it's that way in Europe so much, because we have clients that go over there on vacation and they eat like croissants and pizza and they have no issues. They come back over here and they eat croissants and pizza and they're writhing in pain and they don't feel good. Right. So
yes,
when people stop some of this stuff, they start feeling better. Like the juice, the organic energy juice that we sent you that you're taking, we have some people that I don't know if that's they feel better. Is that you? Oh no, it's not. Somebody's trying to call me on another Telegram. Anyway, we're talking about, I forgot. I got distracted by the bell.
Taking the juice, when they start taking the juice, how quickly?
Oh yeah, you take the juice and then they'll feel energy immediately. Where some people, it might take a couple weeks for it to kick in. We have had some people on that, more like athletes, triathletes and stuff like that, take it consistently for a month and say, yeah, it didn't really do much for me. And then a week or two later, they call me up and we're like, dude, I need some more of that stuff, because it was such a gradual buildup, and then they just come off of it, and all of a sudden they had to return back to their normal energies.
Right? Yes, yeah, exactly. I think sometimes perspective shifts.
The baseline had shifted, right?
Exactly. Your perspective shifts, and you don't quite realize maybe something has been helping until you stop it, and then you realize.
Yeah. So it depends. Yeah. It depends. But all this stuff is common sense, and if you start, doing these things, you got to start somewhere, right? And you gotta take action. We live in a physical world, so you have to take action, and what you put out is what you get back. So if things aren't working for you, that's probably a good idea to start making some baby steps, start making some little changes. Like, how can I, like the grounding sheet, that was an easy one. I mean, that one does create an investment because you have to purchase a grounding sheet, but once you purchase it and you stick it on the bed, it's set it and forget it. All you got to do is go to bed. Done deal. Your environment has now changed, right? If the next time you paint your home or paint a room for your child or yourself, go to thegreendesignCenter.com, get your paint from Andy. That guy is the OG on the non-toxic stuff. And learn about good paints, and then paint the room with non-toxic paint. Stop drinking out of plastic. Just don't do it anymore. Go get some mason jars. Now drink out of glass and stainless steel. Those little shifts change everything, and they start stacking up. Okay, I got my grounding sheet on the way. Okay, I'm gonna go throw all the plastic away. I'm gonna get some glass jars. I'm gonna drink out of glass. I mean, this isn't really rocket science. But your actions are changing industry, because if you stop buying plastic bottles, then you stop polluting yourself and everybody else, right? Because we talked about that clothing earlier. When those clothes get washed, those microscopic fibers, the microplastics, come off in the wash. They go down through the drain. They go out, and they're everywhere. Microplastics are everywhere. People are dying now, and then they're doing autopsy type things, and they're taking the brain tissue out and then separating it all out. There's about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of plastic in people's brains now after they've died. That means we're packing that stuff around.
Yeah, I've seen studies on dogs' testicles and things like that as well. It's terrifying, the microplastics in there. Yeah.
So this isn't bullshit. I mean, go look it up. Right now, most of you listening have a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of plastic in your head. How does you like that? Like, but you can't see it. Oh, you know, well, go look at the autopsies. Look what they're finding. Like, it is what it is, right? So how do you get rid of it? Well, one way is donating blood. If you donate blood, you get rid of the plastics. And then you make new blood without plastic, so you're slowly diluting. You're also getting rid of iron too, which is, I believe, too much iron is oxidizing you and making you age very quickly. So that's one way of getting, you know, if you give, I can't remember the number, but if you give away like blood like I think it's 4 times a year, within a year you can get rid of like 40% of the microplastics in your body.
Oh yeah, no, come across
that's a big deal.
Yeah,
that's cool. Another way of getting rid of them is dry fasting. That's where you don't eat and you don't drink for sustained periods of time. Which I know sounds now that people probably think I'm really nuts. I don't think people should jump into dry fasting out of the gate, because I think most people are deficient, lacking minerals and nutrients and electrolytes, and so and they're struggling. So if they're like I was, where they're eating the standard American diet, then they probably would want to just start really drinking more liquids, and like the organic energy juice stuff that you had, juices, caffeine-free teas, flax water, chia water, that kind of stuff, and really start hydrating the body, doing that first. And then maybe do a 1-day juice feast where it's just all juice one day, right? And then maybe they do a 3 or 5 day juice deal. And then maybe they do a 1-day water fast a year later, and then a 3-day water fast and a 5-day. And then maybe they do a 1-day dry fast where they don't eat, they don't drink nothing. And then they work that up to a 3-day. But once you get into the days 5 and 7 on dry fasting, oh my God, like it will start destroying those microplastics and breaking them down, healing yourself, flooding your body with stem cells. In fact, in 15 years of all the stuff that I've done and tried in my health, and I've learned, I've never seen anything more powerful to heal a human than dry fasting. And this isn't something you're doing every week. This is like once a year. You know, you do a 5, 7, 8 day drive. The most I've made it is 8 days. I made it 8 days, no food, no water, nothing.
Yeah, wow.
And boy, did I feel amazing. Like my joints, a little bit of joint pain I had, completely gone, completely gone.
Are you a fan of like intermittent fasting on a regular basis? So like,
yeah, sure, yeah, and this kind of stuff can really help with hormones too, because you're doing cellular cleanup, you're cleaning up senescent cells, these mutated cells, you're cleaning up microplastics, massive repair. You're flooding the body with millions and millions of your own stem cells. I actually teach a class called the $1 Million Stem Cell Treatment. Their secret, the $1 Million Stem Cell Secret. And people come to it. I just did one in February in a live class down in Mexico at an event, and the class was packed, standing room only. And then I told them all about stem cells and all this stuff. And then, how do you do it? You do nothing. Just looks on their faces. Like, I paid $35 to come to this class to do nothing, but then I had to explain dry fasting and then break down all the fears. Oh, you're going to die without water in 3 days because I looked it up on the internet. Well, that's bullshit, because I got glass mason jars and I urinated in them. I forgot on day 1, but day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm peeing every day. Where's the water coming from? Well, you find out that you actually make your own water inside your cells. It's called metabolic water or endogenous water, water from within. In fact, everybody listening makes that water every day. We do it because we take in our fat, when our fat breaks down, it breaks into hydrogen. That goes into the cell mitochondria, and we breathe in what? Air, oxygen. And then oxygen and the hydrogen in the mitochondria makes water inside the cell. This is like 2 to 8% of your water every day that your body is using for nourishment on a cellular level. You're making it inside of you. Camels do it. Everybody knows this. Camels are notorious for being able to go long periods of time in the desert with no food, no water. How are they doing it? Because they have that big fat hump or the 2 fat humps. So they start breaking down the fat and ketones, and they're producing ketones, and they're living off of that. And then as they breathe in the oxygen and the fat cleaves down into glycerols, into hydrogen, into the cell mitochondria, the hydrogen and oxygen mix, and The camel is living off of what's called endogenous water from within, metabolic water. Same thing with bears. Bears go hibernating. They're sleeping for like 4 or 5 months. They're not getting up and going and drinking nothing. They're in a cave asleep. Where are they getting their water? That's why they go out and eat all them berries and grubs and do all that stuff to get fattened up for the winter, because they're living off of their fat. The fat's breaking down into hydrogen. They're still breathing, and the oxygen and the hydrogen are making metabolic water inside the cells for the bear. And there's actually a little rat called the kangaroo rat that lives in the desert, and most of those rats never actually drink water. They make all the water that they live with in their entire lifetime is metabolic endogenous water. So that water is amazing. It's amazing because it happens inside the cell, and it starts pushing toxins out of the cell into that extracellular matrix to get them out through the lymphatic system and through defecation and urination and stuff like that. It's quite extraordinary. Now, another big, huge thing is parasites. You've probably seen this on all the social media stuff where people are freaking out about parasites. Well, they've been around for billions of years. They're not going anywhere. And yes, you probably have them. Okay. Especially if you have nutrient deficiencies, your immune system has been weakened for long periods of time. You've got parasites. If you have animals, guaranteed you have parasites. And we're not just talking about these big, long tapeworms. There's little hookworms and pinworms, and there's amoebas that can be in the cell, in the bloodstream and stuff like that. So it's nothing to freak out about, but they have their place. But too many of them, they're eating your food, they're drinking your drink, they're urinating and defecating inside of you, and they're having sex and laying thousands of eggs. So how does that sound? Well, you want to get them out of there. Well, if you do a dry fast, in 5 days, they start dying off like massively. In 5-6 days, they're like all dead, all of them, because they have no access to water. They can't get to the water that you're making inside the cell. So that is it's like free. It's free.
Does this sort of stuff, does it need like coaching and things like that to know what to do?
Well, I think in the beginning of me, I've been coaching myself for like 15 years and experimenting on myself. And this isn't, if you're a bulimic or anorexic or type 2 diabetic, you're not going to jump into a dry fast. I don't recommend anybody does, but I can tell you that after 15 years of all the stuff that I've tried, far infrared sauna is one of my favorite, red lights, PEMF mats, bitter raw apricot seeds, drinking green juice, urine therapy, nano silver, sunshine, grounding, walking, all these things that I've learned, there is nothing that even holds a candle to dry fasting. Nothing. And it's free. And I'm like, of course, it's built in. God would build that into us so we could heal for free. But it's scary to people. And I get it, because when I first went to Hippocrates, when my friend got cancer, this institute in West Palm Beach, Florida, there was a guy on. I thought it was crazy they weren't eating breakfast, because I was grown up. You eat breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. My mom and dad made me, you got to eat your breakfast. And that was ingrained into me for 37 years. And guess what? I loved eating breakfast. I mean, who doesn't want a pile of pancakes and maple syrup and a chunk of butter on it and French toast and bacon and eggs and all those memories that are in the smells that are circulating around in that stuff. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't very happy about that when I was that breakfast was not doing me well. And again, maybe breakfast will be great for you. Everybody's different. But for me, when I got off of breakfast and replaced it with concentrated nutrition, it was the green juices. I was getting 4 to 5 pounds of vegetable nutrition in a glass, pre-digested. And so I didn't have the effort of breaking all that food down to digest it. It was already pre-digested. So it went right through the stomach and right into the small intestine and right into the blood. And it was awesome. And so I didn't have the burden of that digestion. So that energy got rerouted to my activities of daily living. And I got a boost from all those nutrients and the phytonutrients and all the minerals and stuff. And I just felt better. So I don't eat breakfast. I haven't had breakfast in I may have had 4 or 5 breakfasts in 15 years. And every time I'm due, it makes me tired. So I just don't do it. I just look, I'm drinking juice right here. That's what I'm doing now in the mornings. And so, I think I could be getting off on many topics. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm very
useful. Yeah.
I'm very excited about what's possible for people. And we were talking about dry fasting. Oh, and I was talking about being crazy. So then, we on Wednesday, after being at the Institute on the day 3, this guy's teaching a class, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm on my day 10 of a water fast." I never even heard this term before. Water fast, what's that? Imagine this, I'm 37 years old. I've never even heard of a water fast before. Or if I did, I didn't pay attention. I probably thought people were crazy, and that's stupid. I'm going to go eat my chicken nuggets and my JoJo's and dip them in ranch because I'm hungry and I need protein, And so, and he's like telling me he feels great in the whole class. And he's like, I'm not out running marathons. I'm relaxing. I'm chilling. My body's healing. But he's like, I can go. I feel awesome. And I looked at my buddy Charles and I was like, this guy is nuts. Like, this guy is off his rocker. He hadn't eaten in 10 years. But what I will tell you is his skin looked amazing. He looked 10, 15 years younger than his age. And after a week of going through that, and after I went through the detox, and then I started feeling amazing, then it was like, I got it. This is an inside job. We got to clean up the gastrointestinal tract. We got to clean up the organ systems. We got to get all these toxic chemicals out of the body, and we got to flood the body with nutrition. And we got to learn how to remove and respond differently to stress. And if we can do those 3 things, I can be one of those people that look 10, 15, 20 years younger than their age, just like all these other people that were working at that place that have been there 10, 15 years. They looked way younger and healthier, and they were happier. And so I did it, and now it's been 15 years, and I'm one of them now, and I get comments all the time about it. And the most important thing, though, is that, like, with my son Kyle came to visit me, and we went trail running. And it's like we stopped because he was tired, not because I was.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, I guess my ego likes that, but number 2, it's like then we went snorkeling up in a lake. We both have because he got me into surfing on the Oregon coast. You have to have a wetsuit. And it's pretty cold last weekend for some reason. We had a blast. We put on the wetsuits. We swam all around the lake, looking at fish, and had a good time. I'm 50. I'll be 53 in June. I guess some people could probably put on a wetsuit and go around, but I don't know if a lot of people can surf at my age or what percentage can. But I know people, Max, that are in their 80s that are in better shape than me. Okay.
Yeah.
And so their success leaves clues. And many of these clues are all the same clues. And when you see the patterns, you'd be a damn fool not to follow them. That's the way I looked at it. Yeah. So that's all I've been doing. I've been for 15 years looking at successful people, interviewing them, and then sucking out any gold nugget I can and applying it to my life and see if it works for me. And that's all I would ask your listeners to do. If there's one thing on here that, that resonated with you, is to go try it and see if it works for you. And if it does, keep it, and then go to the next thing, and just keep adding things into your life. And then what you'll find out is the things that aren't serving you, they'll just go away, or you'll be able to release them much easier when you're putting the good stuff in.
That's probably a good place to end it, Tim. Where can people find more information if they have listened and they thought, you know what, I want to look into, either one of your courses or one of your days or anything like that, or just more information in general?
So just our website, it's chemicalfreebody.com. And my Instagram account, we have Facebook too. It's Chemical Free Body. I have Chemical Free Body Guy on Instagram. That's my personal one. My podcast is Tim James Upgraded. We got, 320 some episodes out. Been doing it since 2019, once a week. Enjoy doing that. I've had a lot of doctors actually reach out to me, and nurses, and tell me they've learned more in the podcast than they had in 4 or 5 years of nursing school or medical school, which has been pretty cool. And it's just, I've been able to pull in this information and look at it from more of a neutral observer. Like, because I don't care about what people are doing. I want to learn. All I care about is things that work, that produce results for working class people like me. That was it. I just want results.
Yeah.
So that's the lens that I operate on. And what I have learned is that some things do work amazing for some people, and they don't work at all for somebody else. So that's where that experimentation, you have to try these things, like I said, but we've got some pretty fundamental things that work for most people,
Yeah.
like our
Yeah.
products and stuff. We never got a chance to talk about alpha energy, but we do have a product that I had in my 40s, a bunch of friends starting to go get testosterone injections. And, after talking to, I think it was Ross, he said, we do that, but he goes, we have a whole formula, and he explained it. He goes, it's not for everybody and blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, I had this solution because I had a lot of my friends, because they would get them and they felt great. But to me, it was like, first off, I just don't like getting jabbed at all. So if I can avoid it, I will, and driving to the doctor and saving an appointment. So I went to Dr. Treadway and I said, I got a bunch of friends of mine that are now getting these testosterone injections. Is there any solutions for this? And the first thing he talked about was removing estrogen mimickers. But number two, he goes, I actually have a formula that's not mine. It was a friend of his that actually, the entire formula was on the 1960s Soviet Union Olympic team. And you can go look up the 1960s Soviet Union and the medals they won compared to all the other countries. They basically smashed the world. And so this formula it works for men and women, but for guys, it will, over a 6 to 9 month period, it's an herbal formula, and it slowly builds up your natural precursors so you can start making your own testosterone in your own beautiful body's chemistry set. And we've had some pretty good results. Jake's was 48 last year. He'd been on it for a year. His testosterone was like 1368. Doctor couldn't believe it. He was really low. I had another guy that was actually a bodybuilder. I was like, he was Mr. Oregon, like that whole Mr. Universe competition. He was the Oregon guy, because every state gets one. They go to Mr. Universe type thing. And he looked like Schwarzenegger. And but it had been years he'd been out of that. And he's still into bodybuilding. And I noticed he had testosterone, black market in his refrigerator. And he goes, oh, no, that's black market. I know my stuff. And I'm titrating. And his testosterone level was low. And I said, well, try this. And he put it into his regimen. And a year later, I saw him, and his testosterone was at 1100. And he's like, wonder what's going on. And I was like, are you still taking the alpha product? And he's like, well, let me go look. And he's like, yep, I'm taking it. Because, those guys are very regimented. He'll eat he measures his food, and it's all, he pre-makes all of his meals and everything. And he does it like a machine. So we've had some pretty good results with that. I actually have another doctor right now doing some clinical trials on himself and some other people on that one as well. So it could be a good adjunct. And that's the whole conversation that Ross and I had. And and he wanted to introduce me to you because hopefully we can work something out where you guys can have that product available. And I told him I would even allow you guys to white label it for your own brand if you wanted to. Because these things now, I don't need to keep them to myself. I can pay my bills and eat, and I have a big mission to start working on a chemical-free valley over here and helping our farmers build regenerative farms. So that's kind of my mission. But if we can get more of these products out to people to help them, I don't care how they get out anymore.
Yeah. And plus the micronutrient side of it is important for the hormones as well, isn't it? So it's it all adds up over time, removing chemicals, removing exposure, but also adding stuff that helps. So yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that's what we do. Pleasure to have you back on today, Tim. So I hope everyone's found that useful. And as I said, follow up with Tim's website, Instagram, things like that if you are interested in pursuing any of that further. So thank you very much for coming on.
Appreciate it, brother.